Abira waited a few steps before speaking. In our travels together, Vida, you haven't said much of your parents. I will be glad to meet them. I didn't turn to see him. I knew I had purposefully said not much about them, but there were some deep feelings from when I was a child. It was hard to understand now, as a mother, how they would just let Harlts take their children with no fight. I knew I would die for my children, but I had tried to let it go, putting it all to the water. But I was on the water too, and still I would never do what they did. But I replied the best I could to Abira. Yes, I'm sure they will like to talk with you too. I wish you could meet my brother Slefnir. He would find this all amusing. Abira came up to my side to walk next to me. Perhaps another time we shall. Traveler hadn't been to the city yet, and it would be out of place for him, but perhaps it would keep the water sellers away. We made our way to the new way into the old Harlts Park. It was still being deconstructed slowly. Colt and the others had come up with a name for a city once it was all done. It took some time, but eventually it was agreed upon to call this place Murdale City. But for now, it was only known by the past. Nevertheless, I could see Traveler looking about as we neared the area where the old barn used to be. It was the first thing to come down, followed by the clear air orb that covered everything. Panel by panel, the Sky People by William's hand did this project, being it was what took him away from his father in his past. And there it was in front of us, a hot air balloon manned by Arrow, one of few airmen that came and stayed. But it wasn't for nothing that he stayed. He always wanted payment to use his balloon. As patchworked as it was well kept and the quickest way to the city where my parents were. His balloon had some business, but he always managed to be there when needed. It wasn't my favorite way of travel. Oh, how I hated the heights. But it was needed today. Why, hello there, Snowfeather and Abira. You are here again today. And whose kitty is this? He put out his hand only for Traveler to rumble his throat, making him draw his hand back. Abira looked to him. We want to go to the city again, Arrow smiled. 3 passengers, 3 payments. I looked to Arrow. Wait a minute, you don't make the Wolf Clan pay for their wolves, Arrow looked to me. Yes, but you are not Wolf Clan members. Abira looked to me. It's all right, Vida. I don't mind the pay, it's fair. He took Arrow's hand roughly, dropping in 6 coins. 3 for going and 3 for the ride back. Arrow looked to them. I should only take the 3. A ride back is not a promised one. Abira rolled his eyes, pulling out another coin, but this one I had never seen before. It was gold with jewels embedded. This coin is solid gold, worth hundreds of this other coin you use. Arrow took it, examining it. How can I use it? I do not know of its origins. Melt it down then, but solid gold is hard to come by, is it not? Arrow looked at it, biting it, then spitting. I don't know. Arrow looked to me. How about a fine bar of dark chocolate? Arrow looked to me, then to Abira, tossing him back the coin. That's what I'm talking about. Show me, can I have a taste? I smiled, of course, just like always here. I broke off a cube of the chocolate with a snap. Will you listen to that? He eagerly waited for the piece to be handed to him as he held it in his fingers, smelling it before sucking on it, then holding it in his mouth as he spoke. Ah, so good. All right, I'm yours for today, but if it begins to rain or the wind picks up, you're on your own. No returns on your chocolate. I nodded. Agreeable, is all I said as Arrow opened up the basket's door. Traveler went in first, followed by me, then Abira. It was rather full, and with a few puffs of fire, we started to rise upward. I stepped back so as not to see more than I needed to of the ground. The edge of the city where my parents lived was roughly 10 miles away, but with the winds, it took over an hour in the sky. With all the dead cars, it would be much harder by horse, as well as there was a great chance of someone wanting to steal them. So until things changed, this was one of very few ways of getting there. Mother and father still drove in the one lane that was cleared for cars to move, but it always took hours. But it was the only way they would travel. Eventually, the balloon landed, Abira watching over the edge almost like an excited child. Arrow yelled out, ground floor knickknacks, doodle boppers, and thingamajigs, all ashore, who's going? He unlocked the basket's door, and I exited, as did Traveler and Abira. Traveler shook his mane. I think I prefer walking to sky travel. Abira looked to him. Come, Traveler, you were never scared of heights in the kingdom's towers. Traveler looked to him. Towers are one thing, clouds are another. Abira chuckled. I suppose it would be hard landing on one's feet so high up. Nevertheless, there is some walking to do, I assume. Abira looked to me as I nodded. Actually, just a few blocks this way. I pointed toward the direction, only to realize that the city was much filthier than I remembered and run down. It had been so long since I had visited, but I never remember seeing it like this. The streets were covered in glass bottles of all sizes, people in rags sticking fingers and tongues inside, trying to find drops of the water. Some people sat near trash, out of their minds. One looked to us, not even caring about. Traveler ran to me, pulling on my clothes. Please, miss, a drop of water is all I need. Just a drop. Just one more, please. I need it. I'm dying. Please. I won't ask again, just this once. I looked to him. Sorry, I don't have any. He was pulling so hard, but Abira jerked him from me. Get off! We don't have any. Calm yourself, lad. But the man jerked from him, his eyes wide as coins with red lines covering them as he walked off, picking up a bottle, then throwing it, mumbling the entirety about a drop. We walked cautiously to my parents' apartment. The streets were full of rats, fighters taking bets for drops of the water. I remembered when I was a child. None of this went on. The city was clean. We could have full water bottles any time we wished. But without the water, what had this place become, and why was it like this over drugged water? We made it to my parents' apartment. It was the tallest. It had also been the cleanest, most pristine back in the day. But now it was covered in drawings made from excrement. I took my finger, pushing their places' numbers, the one thing I didn't forget in all this time, 54088658664. A ringing went off until my dad picked up. Who is it? He said roughly. It's me, Dad, Snow, Vida. Mom, I could hear rushing over. Did you bring the children? I waited a moment. How could I bring the children here with the dangers? Even with Colt, it would be hard. No, not this time, Mom, but I did bring a few friends. I could hear the disappointment in her reply. That's all right, perhaps next time. Why don't you and your friends come up? We are about to have an early lunch. With that, the door buzzed open, and we entered. The elevator was out, so we had to take the stairs. We passed a few people going up and down, some cheerful, others just mumbling or silent, all side-eyeing Traveler. My parents' house was the suite near the top. It took us a good 20 minutes to get up to the 40th floor. Out of breath, I calmed myself before knocking on their door. It was dented, and clearly people were trying to get in. I knocked. It's me. I heard some metal moving in the door opening. My father was holding a large metal bar. My mother ran up, hugging me, but her eyes caught Traveler. She let go of me quickly, backing away. I could see on her face she was scared, and I didn't have to look back to see why. It's all right, Mom. He's one of my friends. Mom was lost for words, so my dad turned his head. Then come on in. He shut the door behind us, putting up the metal bar. My dad looked to Abira next. You that Colt's father, then? My dad never took a liking to Colt for some reason. I was already married when he first met him, perhaps that's why, and Colt did have a very strong presence. So perhaps that was it. Nevertheless, my mom seemed to accept him the little she saw him. Abira looked to my father, putting out his hand. Indeed, for few ears to know, but in this circumstance I feel I can speak freely, and you are clearly the father of Vida here. She looks like you greatly. My father shook his hand strongly, as did Abira. Then he turned to my mother, asking for her hand as she gave it, kissing it as she blushed. And you must be her ravishing mother. Clearly she has taken after you in the ways of being a lady. Traveler looked to me as if to say theatrics, while rolling his eyes. Clearly I was not anything like my mom or my dad for that matter. Nevertheless, he had made a great first impression with my parents. My mom looked to Traveler again. He is housebroken, isn't he? Madam, I assure you, I most definitely am. Traveler spoke out as she stepped back. She fumbled her words. It talks. Abira nodded, sometimes a little too much, but he is safe. His name is Traveler. My mom shook her head. Yes, well, early lunch is nearly done. If you all would go find a place at the table, do you like milk then? Traveler coughed slightly in surprise, speaking as kindly as an irritated lion could. He nodded. Milk will be fine. I looked to Mom. Just bring him what we are having, Mom. On a saucer or a plate? She asked shyly. My dad seemed irritated over something. A plate, Jen. She nodded and went to the kitchen. I was about to follow to help her as I had in the past, but Dad looked to me. Go sit with us, Viddy. I did as I was told. I was an adult, but around him I felt like a child here. We all went to the metal table. Dad pulled it out to accommodate the extra guests. Travelers seemed to be looking around. Abira nudged him slightly to stop. As he sat himself down at the table, it was a perfect size for him. I'll go get the chairs, Dad. Dad turned. No, I will get them. He seemed colder than normal, even for him. He came back with 2 chairs. All right then, please sit, Dad said as he took his seat, as did we. He looked to me. So why are you here today, Viddy, and not at the herd? I was about to answer when my mom came out. Oh, stop, hun. Who cares why she's here? She's here. My dad looked to me. It's good to see you. You look good. Mom interrupted again. Please tell us, how are our grandchildren? I'd like to go see them, but with the elevator out, I'm not as young as I used to be. I knew the elevator wasn't the real reason, but I understood. They are wonderful, Mom. Lyra is sitting up, and our little boy is just like Colt. Dad snorted. Of course he is. Mom hushed him again. Forgive your father's manners. He's been rather irritated lately with all the break-ins about town. I nodded. I will see what I can do about getting the elevator fixed as well as some security. Mom smiled. Oh, don't bother with it all. It is a blessing your people bring us fresh food. It's not like that for everyone. My dad snorted again. My mom placed down some steaks and a salad in a large bowl. There's cake for dessert, Viddy, with ice cream. I know you used to like it. With that, she went and retrieved some plates and utensils. Dad passed out the steaks, giving the largest to Abira. Dad normally ate 2 steaks in a sitting himself. He gave Traveler another already that had been cut up into small pieces, then me, then Mom, and himself. Smells good, so finely prepared. My mom smiled. Thank you. My dad looked over after a bite. Good as always, dear. She smiled again as she took a bite, looked to me. So, Viddy, are you showing your friends the city? My dad looked over to her. Of course she's not. She's needing something. Why else would she be here of all places? I looked to Dad, then to Mom. Dad's right. We are looking for some glass slides. I remember as a kid you had some in your closet I used to play with. Do you still have them? My mom looked up and thought, You know, I think I threw those old things out years ago. I looked to her. She never threw anything away. Could I go look after dinner? It's really important, Mom. Mom looked to me. The place is such a mess. You wouldn't find them. Perhaps I can look for them during dessert. Mom was always an odd one about people in her stuff, so I nodded. There is more. Dad looked to me. Of course there is. What is it? I rubbed my arm. I didn't know how to ask. Abira was staying quiet. Dad, Mom, Colt and I, we went on a trip and found his father and, Abira here has raised many children, boys and girls, and, they look exactly like me and Az, some older, some younger. You raised me, and I love you both, but am I really your daughter? My dad took another bite of steak before standing. I need a beer. Abira, join me in one? Abira smiled. I'm afraid not. Dad walked off. I heard the fridge open, and clanking till he came sitting hard back down, placing 2 bottles down, looking to Abira. You will change your mind. Abira smiled softly. I'm afraid my name is as close as I shall get to the drink. Dad rolled his eyes, popping the metal cap on the table as it flew off. He chugged it halfway down before wiping his face. So it's come to this, Viddy. I could see tears in my mom's eyes as I looked back to Dad. So how many are there, then? Abira spoke up. Alive, 24 daughters and 25 sons. Mom looked to Dad. Perhaps we should. Dad shook his head, taking another swig, letting out a sigh. We knew some children would be made into clones. Or extras, as they were called a few years back, but we had no idea to this extent, nor that either of you were copies until after you both were at the park. It was always a careful thing. Extras were never meant to meet. We were called in close to when we were chosen for one another. An unborn was put into your mother here, which was you, and later on, Az. We were not allowed to have children of our own because of my past, but nevertheless, we loved you both as if you were our blood. I looked to my dad. Then why did you let us go so easily at the park? My dad, finishing his beer, grabbed the other one. Simple. I didn't.